I love this comment. This is a very, very interesting one and a picture of never say never in real time. As of the time of Predator Hunting Grounds going to Xbox, and again, like I said, we're going to have to revisit this. This comment made its way on the channel. This user said Predator isn't a PlayStation game. They don't own the IP. Xbox will never get Sony first party, aside from licensed games like The Show or Lego Horizon. PlayStation has been dominating Xbox for 25 years. Xbox continues to operate at a loss. Delete your channel, bro. Now, I've heard people tell me to delete my YouTube channel. I've been on YouTube for a short minute. And yes, this is the second channel that I've had, and I've had people disagree and say, something like that. When people disagree with you, sometimes they could, lash out and take things to a whole different level. Like, why would anybody want to delete a channel? But when we go and look at this particular comment, if you notice, it was about 10 months ago. And as we look at the situation now, it's quite obvious that the so-called claims that people were making at the time and whatever confidence people seem to have at the time was misplaced. They could not look at the grand picture to realize that something was brewing in the horizon. Think about it. Think very carefully where Xbox was at that time. Xbox was doing Game Pass. Xbox was in a position where Starfield had just come out. They were in a PR nightmare. They were making money because, again, they were selling well on Steam. They were selling well on Xbox. Their subscription numbers on Game Pass seemed to be thriving. They also went with their price increase of Game Pass, which was kind of nasty. I moved straight to Game Pass PC at the time. And I think I did Ultimate or so for a little bit. But it is what it is. But at that particular period, there were some of us who were talking about the game, a very small amount. They're just minuscule voices saying that this particular outlook for Xbox ignored a lot of things. And you could see from that comment how somebody would have thought that Xbox was running at a loss, of which we just recently found out that Xbox's Game Pass at the time, which was presumed to be running at a loss, even though there were articles, there were statements previous to that comment being made that had actually outlined how developers get paid, how much money is being spent on Xbox, and we even saw some from the leaks with the data from Brazil before we even got Sarah Bond's statement of 34 million users, right? So people always made up and fomented stuff. Xbox was running at a loss. How could they put games on Game Pass? How could they do these things? Not realizing that this particular plan was designed to grow, right? Whether fast or whether slow. And so far, it's proven to actually have grown significantly. And the so-called Xbox, the trillion-dollar company arm for gaming, has now reached the point where its subscription service with way less consoles has done, in terms of revenue, significantly close to what PlayStation Plus has done. In fact, somebody was asking Grok a question. Do you guys watch that video where this one guy was talking about an Xbox fanboy and PlayStation Plus versus Game Pass? And Grok was telling that dude, man, yeah, he may be smack talking, but the facts are that Game Pass had out-revenued PlayStation Plus. So you mean to tell me that a platform that y'all have been saying has only 30 million consoles sold, while PlayStation is running to 90 million consoles, is pretty much doing revenue that is in the same ballpark or maybe better, and is still profitable, according to statements that were given to Christopher Drink after he baited all PlayStation fanboys into his little, piecemeal informational situation? And so when we go back and we look at all of this stuff, to me, I strongly believe that this whole thing makes a whole lot of strangeness in the mix. Don't you think so? I mean, think about it. How did people get so confident in proclaiming all of the wrong things? How did they get so confident in saying things like Xbox was being run at a loss? Like, really, think about it. Xbox continues to operate at a loss. How did they come about that? Where did they get that from? Right? And there were people who were telling them that, dude, Xbox was basically cooking, but they did not want to see it because all their paradigm was as long as their so-called warm belly games were not on other platforms, they couldn't believe it. And what was crazy is their warm belly games were on other platforms. It was on PC via Steam and Epic Games, but they refused to hold on to the truth. There's a reason we continue to beat on this topic. And I know some may say, well, why don't we just play games? Well, hold on. It's not yet time to play games. It's time to actually teach a good lesson. And the lesson is very simple. A little bit of humble pie is always good for every single one of us, myself included. In fact, the reason I have this comment is because I was pretty much sitting down and sat down to eat some good humble pie. And the humble pie was very simple. I thought that Predator Hunting Grounds was a PlayStation game at the time going to Xbox. I still think it's a game that was sponsored in terms of, not like what I think even doesn't matter. The PlayStation paid for this game to be developed, and then it went to Xbox, and PlayStation still benefited from some publishing acquisition or so. It is what it is. Or maybe they didn't care, as maybe they didn't think the game had any prospects to be able to garner enough players, as the game had pretty much melted in terms of interest and whatever. I don't know. But I'm glad that they finally woke up and are now taking more games to Xbox. You see, they had somewhat excluded Xbox from their live service plans. I don't know if you know. Via Bungie, they were going to go with it's because it's, Bungie is run independently. But Bungie is not as independent as it once was. I always laughed when people said Bungie was going to be run independently, though. That always was ironic. And apparently there was some contingency. As long as they maintain so and so and so. That's not independent. The independent Bungie, right, it was already gone the moment they were acquired by Sony. Because when you're independent, you get to call the shots. It's not contingent on anything. That's independence means you get to call the shots. Right? With the stipulations that you set for your own self. I mean, not saying you don't have boundaries, not saying you don't have structure, but if anybody is dictating what boundaries and structures you're supposed to actually have and keep, then I must say, that does not sound so independent to me or anybody else who's thinking about it. So never say never is the categorical, lesson that we must all continue to look at. To say never. And, I've been tempted many a time to say never as well in some instances. Like when PlayStation gamers were telling me, hey, dude, Phil's going to bring PC to Xbox. I was like, nah. I didn't say never, though. Whoo! I'd have been eating another big plate of crow. But I was like, man, I don't think he can do it. I don't think he's ready. Man, I don't see how it happens. And I remember going through that, mind bend and thinking about it. Honestly, if that actually was difficult for me to grasp, right? And I'm a PC gamer, I'm supposed to be the more open-minded renegade and all that crap nonsense, right? And even that took me a while to kind of grasp. I can't imagine someone who maybe loves exclusivity on, I don't know, whatever side they are, and someone who's always hated or looked and downplayed and browbeaten Xbox to even comprehend the layer of advancement that Xbox is now sitting at. That, to me, is the craziest part. So the realization right now has not even fully dawned on a lot of people. And that's why 10 months ago, somebody could say never. PlayStation first-party games will never go to Xbox, except licensed games. They even put a qualifier to let you know that they are serious about this fantasy they were telling themselves. Anyways, I gotta go. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Peace out.